Hello, here's another rewind video for you all. It's been a while since I did one of these, but I've been away camping in a place where they haven't even heard of the internet and desktop PCs, so I had to go to a pub and use their Wi-Fi just to download these Apex finals, so that's how I was watching it. It was quite nice, to be fair. They did incredible chips and the sun was shining and I was at the beach, so what more can you want from life? And the Apex finals. So I'm going to look back through, I'm going to do 2 videos on it because I picked out a couple of moments. It was obviously an incredibly long series, and I don't want to make these videos too long, so I'll shut up and get on with it. This is the second map. They went into Eichenwalde, Lunatic-hai's pick, coming into it. Kongdoo Panthera are on the attack here, and Lunatic-hai have just been kind of stalling them out for a while, and they are in a situation now where you can see Miro's just had the nano boost used onto him, and they got like caught behind them. They were fighting around here. They've come back around. They've used the EMP as well, but D.Va got taken down by Fisher, and so they really don't have enough damage to be able to finish this off. But this isn't really the play that I want to talk about. This is just kind of how the fight's set up. So Lunatic-hai got a couple of people picked. They actually got Zumba demeched because they just have too much damage, and the positioning here from Kongdoo Panthera is really good. So even though their tanks got EMP'd on the floor, D.Va died, so he couldn't really follow up, so they decided not to focus Void. Instead, they decided to focus Luffy and Fisher. They take down Luffy, but they don't manage to kill Fisher. But what I actually want to look at is how they use the ultimates here, particularly Rascal and Void's, because it was really sick, but also quite funny the way that it worked out. So I don't know why I bother using the audio. It puts me off hearing the casters' voices. Maybe I should actually download the VODs in Korean, because then I'll just hear like the hype and not really understand the words, and so I won't get put off. Okay, so they come through here, and you can see Zumba, Jaehong, and also I believe it's Esker are kind of on the low ground, and you'll see there that Void has just used his self-destruct, and he popped it right up in the air, and he's gonna drop down, and Miro drops his shield to keep them all safe. And Rascal drops from the high ground, or I think it was actually positioned up here, drops over, and he's going to use his EMP. And the EMP that he uses, this one, is going to completely remove the shield from Miro that all of these guys are hiding underneath, and Void's thing is synced, and it's like perfect timing, and it just rinses everybody. But it actually doesn't get all of the kills, because they finish people off on the ground anyway, because they're all clustered up, so Fisher's able to do loads of damage. So you see that he uses the EMP, the thing explodes immediately afterwards, but actually Jaehong and Zumba would have got caught by it. It was like a really nice, well-executed play that should have got 3 kills, really. But they managed to get the kills just through like raw damage anyway, so it didn't really matter. But it was a really nice setup for the play. But it also kills Miro as well, like a little bit afterwards. So I was really puzzled at what happened here. That's really funny. Miro jumps up top here after he had the nano boost used, so he's got like good position with Jaehong. Jaehong drops down to try and save this push and like heal the rest of his team, and Miro just drops the bubble down, right? He doesn't actually fall onto the ground, he just oh no, he does, sorry. He drops down, drops his bubble, and then jumps back up. But as he jumps up, he you can see, so there's the EMP, and here comes the self-destruct, and watch Miro's health. So Miro takes damage at the same time as these guys die from the self-destruct. So that's the amount of damage that he took. Like, he was able to jump away to the periphery of the self-destruct explosion to the point where it wouldn't actually kill him. So why does it kill him? It kills him because he jumped up top here above the castle. It hits him and propels him forward, and he lands in the fucking pit. He lands in the river, and he dies to that. And that's why he ends up dying like a full 2 seconds after everybody else. I was so puzzled when I was watching it. I thought that was funny. But it was a well-executed play as well from Rascal and Void. And I think a lot of the Korean teams are actually really good at being able to use their self-destruct to actually secure kills and not just be like an initiation ult. Because almost all of the Western teams use it as an initiation ult, where like you're going to throw it in, the enemy team's going to scatter, and then you've got like free entry. You're not going to take a load of damage just going through the choke point, or have to use resources or cooldowns to be able to actually gain access and gain a little bit of position. But the Koreans use it in a slightly different way. I thought that was cool. So here's another fight that comes fairly shortly afterwards, actually. And this is Kongdoo Panthera attempting to attack. This is Kongdoo Panthera attempting to get the second checkpoint. And the second checkpoint, Lunatic-hai is amazing at being able to defend it. They stagger people in. They have incredible discipline on who they stagger. I think it's one of the things that Lunatic-hai does absolutely best, world class at it, making sure that they contest every point right to the bitter end, and also being able to like throw a couple of people in but queue them up so that they go in and they're actually dying slower than the people are spawning, so they end up building a backlog of their team behind them, and then at some point they have the player advantage and they can push in, and they're very good at being able to identify when that is or use their ults to be able to do it. And so Kongdoo Panthera go in this time, and they're kind of having a messy fight around here. They use the EMP, and they're just applying a lot of pressure. You know, it's a very messy engagement all around the point, but they managed to force out both of the supportals, which is their main goal here. So Jaehong uses his Transcendence here. Toby feels like he has to because it's a real messy fight. They don't quite know whether they're going to win it, but with both of those supportals, they are able to get the better end of it. Look at this, though. It's absolutely bananas. I've never seen a self-destruct like this in my life, okay? Watch Void's POV here. He's on 87% right now. He gets his self-destruct. This is him, Void, right here. We're going to see his POV. Okay, he's on 97%. He gets the ultimate, right? They've already used the sound barrier. This is essentially like a one fight for Kongdoo Panthera, right? They just need to reset and try and repush, and they'll have Waka Waka's ultimate up, and they'll be playing into the EMP, and it's slightly easier, right? Because they've got both of these support ultimates out. So Void really doesn't have a purpose anymore, but he's still going to use his self-destruct, and it's nuts. He just flicks his mouse around like that, and it goes through the bloody hole. It goes through like a slam dunk, like a 3-point fadeaway. Oh, Jesus, I nearly fell off my chair. And it goes behind, and it kills Toby. What the fuck? There's no way he meant to do that, right? There's no way he could aim that. Look at his mouse movement. There's no way he intended for it to go through this hole, is there? Look at that. That's fucking mental. He just like flicks his mouse around, and it goes like perfectly through the hole. Is that something he's practiced insane amounts so that he could do that every time? Is he just styling on noobs? Or was that pure luck? I have no idea. Blew my mind when I watched it. I mean, it's not mind-blowing that he managed to get it through the hole. It's mind-blowing that he was like swizzling his mouse around and dodging everybody and still managed to get it like perfectly. It wasn't like set up or anything. Crazy. Weird. Okay, so then they kind of reset a little bit. I've just skipped forward 20 seconds or something to the point where Kongdoo Panthera are ready to take this engagement again. Again, they're on the attack. They're coming in here. And what I want you to look at is Kongdoo Panthera's positioning, because Lunatic-hai know that they don't have the support ults here, so they're playing back and they're waiting for Kongdoo Panthera to gather around the payload as they did before, as tons and tons of teams do. You'll see this all the time. Teams cluster around the payload and like they sacrifice their positioning, just all clumped around the payload. I don't know why it happens on Eichenwalde second so much, but it's awful, really, because it allows the defense to be able to get so many staggers in, and you just have this really chaotic fight happening around the payload that has so much variance in how it can turn out. So Lunatic-hai are waiting for them to group up, and Esker's going to come out and get a high-value EMP, and they're going to try and clean it up in that sense, because they don't have the support ults to be able to really go toe-to-toe with Kongdoo Panthera. They have to get value out of the EMP, and it's difficult in this situation. So this is how they're playing it. Kongdoo Panthera know that they're playing into the EMP, and so they know that they have to spread out, but also get really good positioning for their tanks. And this is something that I don't see teams do enough when they're actually attacking this second checkpoint, is really value positioning this much. So they come in here. We've got a bad POV, but look how their Kongdoo Panthera supports are positioned. If we get a good shot of them again, I'll be able to show you. So here comes Esker. He's about to come out, and he's looking for a high-value EMP. Now, if we take a look at where the supports are positioned, Luffy actually joins him over. So here's Luffy, miles and miles away, and here's Waka Waka, again, miles and miles away. And their tanks and Rascal and Birdring are really far forwards, and they're about to get even further forward. So their tanks are doing a great job of buying a huge amount of space for the Kongdoo Panthera backline so that Esker can get nowhere near. So he can't get a big value EMP, and so he has to decide, do I want to EMP the tanks so that my team can more easily follow up and we can potentially get picks, even though Waka Waka might be able to save them with his support ult because he's not going to get caught? Or do I go to the backline? Do I try and get a solo kill onto Luffy and maybe catch Waka Waka in it and hope that my team can win like the 5v4 around the payload once side, neutralize both of their supports. But they're so far away, the supports, that Esker would have to go all the way back there, and there's a lot of variance in how it works out. And just as he decides not to go all the way to the back line, the tanks take amazing position up here, so Void and Fisher are so far away and like safe themselves, and so the EMP really gets no value out of it at all. Here he decides to use the EMP, but Guido has already died to Birdring taking him in a duel. Now, even if he wasn't dead, it's very difficult for Guido and Esker to get damage onto their tanks up here and really focus them down, even though they're hacked, because they've already used their cooldowns to get into a good position before the fight actually happens. You know, they've set themselves up for it. And then their backline comes in, and because Luffy and Waka Waka were nowhere near, in fact, I think Luffy actually gets caught in the EMP. I think he was just on the boundary of it, but Waka Waka doesn't. Let me see whether that's true or whether I just remember that from a different fight. No, that's a different fight. It just looks like he does because his shield gets chipped down by somebody. I'm not sure who. Okay, so their backline is sufficiently far away to avoid getting caught in the EMP, and they both kind of run in, and Waka Waka gets this high-value sound barrier onto everybody. And because there's no support ult to reply from Lunatic-hai, and because they've already used the EMP and didn't get value out of it, they're going to be able to win this fight through them setting up the fight really well for themselves. And it's something that you see teams fail repeatedly on Eichenwalde second, which is why it's so nice to see it working out here, because it's a point where Lunatic-hai is excellent at being able to defend. For example, when they were playing against Luxury Watch Blue, it was something that Luxury Watch Blue beefed again and again and again, and Lunatic-hai had an amazing hold there. So the last thing that I want to point out in the beginning, or like the first half of the Apex finals, was this play at the end of Temple of Anubis, and the assault maps in generals were bananas this series. They were just so close and so ridiculous in terms of how the overtime mechanic worked, and I'll point that out in a moment. But the first thing I want to look at is this. Where am I? Okay, so Jaehong has been on the Mei, and it hasn't been working, and they're down to 1 minute. And Kongdoo Panthera have already attacked and got 2 points, so Lunatic-hai have to be able to complete this, and really they need to complete it with some time left in the bank. They can't complete it in overtime, because then they're giving Kongdoo Panthera 3 minutes just to attack first tick on point A. Kongdoo Panthera are almost guaranteed to get this, so Lunatic-hai absolutely have to complete, and they absolutely have to complete not in overtime. Now, what does that mean? Overtime is the point where you are most likely to capture this, because it fucks with the defensive spawns. It means that they spawn 2 seconds slower, I think it is, and so teams will often wait until overtime to even go in. If you've only got a minute on the clock and you have ultimates, not so much in this sense because they don't have the ults, but they still, if they were like waiting to get themselves into a position and it was like 10 seconds on the clock, you definitely see teams wait for overtime when those defensive spawns are 2 seconds slower, and then they push in. But Lunatic-hai cannot afford to do this whatsoever, so they're going to switch Jaehong over to the Reaper. They've got the Reaper EMP, Reaper Sombra comp going on, and Kongdoo Panthera here play aggressive into them. They've only got a minute left. They don't have any ults. This is Lunatic-hai. And Kongdoo Panthera know this, and previously they haven't been playing this aggressive, but for whatever reason Kongdoo Panthera decide to really turn up the tempo when there's only a minute left. I'm really not sure why they decide to do this. Maybe the nerves got to them as it got to the end. Maybe they just thought this'll knock Lunatic-hai off their rhythm and we'll be able to just secure really an easier win here. But Rascal's playing in the backline. He's got his translocator. He can go back. It's the tank's position I want you to look at here, because Fisher is really aggressive, Birdring is also aggressive, and Void comes in to peel for them as soon as he gets his suit back up. So he's just thrown in a self-destruct, I think. I didn't actually track that. Did he throw in a self-destruct? Yeah, he must have done. But I don't think he got any value. I don't even know where that went, actually. It was shit, anyway. The self-destruct didn't get anything. He remakes. Oh, yeah, there it goes. It, like, just goes over the top and they're all around there. Oh, I guess that's, like, zoning. Maybe that was the play, actually. I missed that before, but maybe he was aiming to zone them into one corner so that they could actually fight this one. But anyway, the point is they're playing much more aggressively, and Fisher comes in and goes aggressive, but he has his primal rage to be able to disengage. Void has thrown in his self-destruct, remeked, and comes in to peel, and I'm not really sure who he's peeling for. Maybe there's some miscommunication here, or Fisher thinks that he's going to get wrecked, And it's something that Fisher tends to do, is use his Primal Rages very aggressively, and Lunatic-hai are very good at being able to focus on Primal Rage and Winstons and remove them from the map. So there's some communication here that says, Void, you're required. Rascal TP's out, and Birdring manages to get out as well, but Void is caught, and Fisher actually isn't caught. Mostly because he was able to use that Primal Rage, so he had some kind of disengage function himself and really should have been able to get out without sacrificing Void's life here. But the fact that Void is demeched completely opens the door for Lunatic-hai with 38 seconds left. They managed to come in, and this is the second error from Kongdoo Panthera, is that they use the EMP here from Rascal. You just saw that. It's locked up Esker's ult, for example. There's loads of people that it actually caught. I believe it catches Zumba and Jaehong and Toby in this sense, and it may also catch other people as well. But they don't manage to convert any of these kills. They don't focus fire effectively. They still have Birdring, Rascal, Fisher alive. They've got Luffy up on the Reaper as well, but they don't manage to get any of these kills. Look how low everybody goes on Lunatic-hai. These players are getting slammed. Esker's so weak. Guido's taking damage. Jaehong as well. Toby was weak for a while. But because they don't manage to finish any of the kills, and now Esker and Toby are getting up to their ultimates, they've made two crucial errors that just completely put themselves at a massive disadvantage, and Lunatic-hai are able to take this off the back of an EMP that comes in and a sound barrier. And that's a deficit that you can't work around if you're Kongdoo Panthera. But here's the thing as well, you could still stall for overtime. Kongdoo Panthera, if they managed to stall for overtime here, which is only 13 seconds, even if they hadn't won the fight at all and their only goal in this defense was to make it to overtime, that is a massive win for Kongdoo Panthera, and they should be able to win this map. And instead, they have opened the door by playing aggressive, and Lunatic-hai, look at this timer ticking down here. 8 seconds, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. If I pause it frame by frame, you'll see that it gets to 0.3 seconds. I'm not even sure whether I can. 0.3 seconds, okay? And they managed to cap it. And Kongdoo Panthera aren't able to delay till overtime. This is the most nuts thing I've ever seen in a final, in the Apex Season 3 final. Lunatic-hai caps with 0.3 seconds on the clock to give themselves an extra minute in the next round, that they're then able to carry forwards and end up with a draw on Temple of Anubis. It could have all gone here with 0.3 seconds, because there's no way they're going to be able to deny Kongdoo Panthera from one tick on point A. But they managed to cap it, and they get a bonus minute on the clock. It's unbelievable. I'm surprised they can even believe that they've done it. It's incredible. And then, when you look at what happened on Volskaya, both teams were able to cap with 1 second when they were in their second round, like in the bonus round, to give themselves another minute on Volskaya as well. But both teams managed this. Both teams, when they went into the bonus round, like after you've done your main, you've got 2 points on the board, you go into the second round of attack and defend, both teams managed to cap, and they had 1 second left, both of them, so it gave them an extra minute each. They went to another additional time, and then they took it to a draw. It was nuts. The assault maps between these two teams were just... On a knife's edge doesn't even do it justice, because it was crazy. And the fact that the Kongdoo Panthera were then able to take it in the control is a whole different story, you know, a whole different discussion about how you want to break those tiebreakers. But an absolutely nuts series of events on these assault maps. So I'm going to do another video as well. Keep your eyes open for that one, just going through some moments in the second half of the Apex Season 3 final. And then I'm also doing a piece looking at Toby as a player. So keep your eyes open for those.